sound? Hello, I am Andrea Goeglein, as always. But not as always. I've got a new friend with me today, and a friend that came into my life because of how light and refreshed and energized a friend of mine was looking over dinner one night. And I was like, share with this. This looks very good. What is this? And she mentioned the name Jeffrey Noble. And I said, well, share the information. So today we're going to have a conversation with someone who, unlike my normal conversations in positive psychology about how to raise your, use your values in action in order to raise your energy level, which is all based in this science, we're going to talk about the more esoteric, in my words, he may debate me, way that we all sense energy. And Jeffrey, I want the world to know who you are through your words. And then in our conversation, they'll figure out everything else. So please do a little bio for us.
Well, thank you for inviting me on your podcast, first of all. I've been looking forward to it. We've had wonderful times working together for
Yes.
5 weeks.
Yep, we did.
We've had wonderful times. I've learned a little bit about you. You learned a little bit about me. And I'll be more than happy to share. I'll take maybe 2 or 3 minutes and share how I got
Please.
involved in all of this.
Okay.
As you probably know, I'm basically a kid from Harlem, living in the projects. Mother raised 4 boys by herself. And I just knew I didn't want to be another statistic.
Right.
So I began to study other things. I wanted to prove that you don't have to be a victim because you come from an area that's supposed to be depressed and, under marginalized and everything else. So I decided I want to be what everybody else thought you should be. And
Right.
I wanted to be more of a not product from my environment, but product of my environment, but from my environment by just being different and setting an
Okay.
example. So I started studying different things, a lot of positive thinking. But the thing that really made the biggest difference in my life probably was when I went to India in 2010. In 2010, I went to India with healers from all over the world. We all got together under my teacher at the time named Dale Pay, and we went trip to India. And it was a spiritual journey, basically. We went to all types of temples and churches, all kind of religious institutions, and just to get a feel for, the different religions and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a long story short, one evening, every night after we came back in, we would meditate together. The whole group would meditate together. This particular night, no one came to see whether I was coming down for meditation. But they have people that come to your room every night to make sure you were coming down for meditation. No one came to my room. That particular night, no one in the States were able to reach me on the telephone. I don't know why. Oh, I do know why, but I'll tell you in a minute. And so all of a sudden, I get to hear this voice. And I'm like, okay, where's this voice coming from? And it told me to burn the incense that I had. And had some sandalwood incense, so I burned it. And then I realized that I was talking to the universal God, basically. And
Okay.
God was letting me know that, oh, by the way, I forgot. My roommate decided he didn't want a roommate that afternoon. So I was in the room by myself also. So it was like I was left all alone so that God can talk to me. And so God and I got into a fight. I put up a good fight. I put up a good fight, but I lost. And God's whole thing was, I want you to quit your job and do this work full time. Granted, I was making about $250,000 a year at that point, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying quit $250,000 a year to do healing full time. And he said, well, it's not your money, it's my money anyway. And I said, oh, okay, but I still have bills to pay. How am I gonna pay those bills if I don't have my salary? I was told not to worry about that. Then I was told to shave off all the hair all over my body, everything, no hair at all. And I said, well, what's this about? And this is my remix now. And
Yeah.
God said it was about me being rebirthed into what he put me on this planet to do. I'm like, okay, so how much money am I gonna make doing this? I'm already spoiled financially now.
Let's be clear. How
Yeah,
much money am I going to make doing
right.
this?
So do you know how many people I have to see one-on-one to make this kind of money? Because all this time I was doing energy work and healing free in the church because I didn't need the money. So I was
Right.
doing free all this time. So now you're telling me
Jeffrey, what was your job? What was your day job?
I was in the mortgage business.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I was in the mortgage business. And I was
Okay.
producing like $53 million a year in mortgages. So to give
That's
that,
amazing.
right. So to give all that up for this, and I said, okay. So I cut off all my hair and everything else, except for my eyebrows. I wasn't trying to be funny. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But I said, listen, if I cut off my eyebrows, I'm gonna look like I have cancer. And I don't want to look that way. So I'm not cut off my eyebrows. And God said, I need you to cut off your eyebrows. I said, no. So the next morning, I went downstairs to meditate in the morning, to meditate in the evening and in the morning. And I kept hearing these, those noises in your ear, like they call it monkey sounds, whatever it was. I
Hmm.
said, now, God, if this is you and you stop the monkey sounds, I'll go cut off my eyebrows. Stop like that. I was like, whoa. So I went to just cut off my eyebrows. Now, I came home, right? And my wife was afraid to touch me because they said I was glowing so much. My wife didn't even want to hug me at the airport. She said, you
Hmm.
look totally different. She said, your body is glowing. You just look totally different. I said, okay. So then I came to work on Tuesday. I quit my job on Friday with $16 million in the pipeline that someone else would get paid for. 16 minutes in the pipeline, someone else would get paid for. And then all of a sudden, things just start going like this. No more money coming in.
Uh-huh.
Within about a year, my wife and I decided she was leaving. It's like everything hit rock bottom. My place,
God may have talked to you, but she hadn't quite gotten the memo.
right? Or she wasn't with the memo. Um, and then my place I was about almost a year and a half in the arrears in my mortgage for my place. And I said to myself, okay, God, now you put me in this position, so how you gonna get me out of it? And I was like 8 days away from foreclosure. I knew the auctioneer's number, his name, and everything else. And I kept saying, God, how am I gonna get out of this? Then another bank offered me $80,000 to come over to work for them and bring my book of business with me. And so that was my way out. Take the $80,000, pay off my back mortgage, and I'm good. But I couldn't take it because I knew if I started
Oh,
again, I would keep doing the mortgage business.
sure.
I didn't take it. A friend of mine then lent me the money to pay off almost 2 years of arrears. And they took it out of their 401k for me to pay it
Whoa.
back.
They're a better friend than I would ever be, just FYI.
They're most people. They're most people. But what I did in return is I took out an insurance policy for double that amount. So if I died, she would get paid back.
Okay.
All right. As a matter of fact, she still has the policies. I'm surprised I'm still alive. Because
I was going to say, I'd be afraid to eat at her house from time to time. Just saying. Just
I paid her back already and everything else. And so
saying.
here I am. Since then, I've started the Noble Touch. I won, as you may know, you may or may not know, I won the Lifetime Achievement Award from I'm a recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the White House. Um, I started
I
the
did
Noble
not.
Touch, which has grown to 300 healers. We've done work on six out of 7 continents. I work with people, as you know, from all over the world, and I've become this healer now that people come to when they can't get what they want from when the doctors don't know what to do.
Right.
They come to me, or if they want quick results, they'll come to me. So I've established this whole company now called the Noble Touch, which is a nonprofit organization in New York City. Our website, as you know, is www.thenobletouch.org. The Noble
Okay.
Touch.
And I will have that in the
Okay.
notes for this.
All right.
Um, and it will come up when I even do subtitles. So
What I,
everyone will know how to get in touch with you.
so what I learned from this experience, though, is that God doesn't necessarily call the prepared. He calls you and prepares you for the mission he has for you to achieve on this earth. Because believe me,
Interesting.
I would have never thought that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. That would have been the last thing from my mind. And here I am now, a CEO of a company that is one of the most innovative companies when it comes to healing and wellness in the country.
Jeffrey, you mentioned churches and doing the energy work in churches. So you had a traditional religious background, mainstream religious background?
I started off that way. Then I asked a lot of questions in church and they wouldn't answer them. And they thought I was a pain because I asked so many questions. So I left the church for, I
And
don't,
was that just a traditional Christian church?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Baptist church. Yeah.
Baptist.
And I went back to church to speak because I did a lot of relationship counseling. So I went back to speak to their relationship ministry.
Okay,
And I fell in love with that particular church and joined church again and
okay.
got involved with leadership in the church. I am the only, from what I understand, at least I was, what, 8 years ago, the only person in the Baptist church that was ordained a minister of healing and transformation. Because most churches
Interesting.
have no healing ministry,
Right.
not what I would call a healing ministry. They talk about all the healing miracles, but they don't have a healing ministry. They have what they call a prayer ministry, which they call healing. But I don't see where Jesus healed anybody through prayer when I read the Bible. So I don't, I'm not a
And,
religious
and
scholar either.
I'm not scripture based. I can't recite scripture. I know the
Neither.
parables. So I can't debate that with you. I will tell you that you were correct when you started this conversation by saying that I probably don't know this about you, and I knew none of the India story whatsoever. I absolutely did not know. And it made me smile inside because I have another video in these conversations with a young man by the name of Trey Huntley. And Trey was in real estate and did phenomenal.
I
And
saw that
he's
interview.
okay. And he is now getting his doctorate in spiritual consciousness from Saybrook.
Mhm.
And it is interesting to me how an industry such as real estate, mortgage brokers, real estate can be so cutthroat, but out of that blossoms these, evolutions for you. And I'm always in awe of people's story of how they get to where they are. And for me, it's never about it's not true that God spoke to him. Well, I came out of a tradition, Catholicism, where the roots of all of our mystics all had visitations. So I don't think that only happens. If I believe it happened then, why can't I believe it happens now?
Funny you
I don't
mentioned
have to debate that.
Right. I was on a radio show one time, and someone called in and said, "Well, I don't believe his story." And so the host said, "Well, Jeff, what do you feel about this person saying they don't believe your story?" I said, "I really don't care. I
Mhm.
don't care if they believe it or not. It's not their story, so I don't care if they believe my story or not. They
Right.
have their own story, and I may not believe theirs. Who cares? I
Uh,
know, I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to
yes.
educate, motivate, and empower people,
Yeah.
and heal
And
people by
and
any means necessary."
and I think we are both trained in our own traditions where when someone says something like that, like, I don't believe you, we don't take that statement personal. We know that at that moment, that person is telling us where they are.
Right.
And it's our job actually not to respond. I had it happen in a seminar in the last five. Well, I always have to go back prior to 2020, but I did a public speech. And in it, I was telling the story on how I joined. I was hired by a Wall Street firm when I was 14 years old um, to do filing. And the person didn't believe me. Well, I actually have my working papers, my original working papers.
You do?
Yes, I have it taped behind the postcard I got from the government when I trademarked DrSuccess. So I have these two documents in one frame in my office. And I just laughed, like, uh, okay, you don't believe me. What am I going to do about that? I could accept that. I didn't even have to debate. I did tell her I actually still have the original working papers with the
Right,
dates on them.
right.
Like, I got them. You want me to send you a picture? I wasn't that snarky, snarky about it. But it is that moment when you know they're telling you what they're ready to receive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and
You have
I
to realize
wanted,
that.
yes, and I wanted to have this conversation today, and I went back through, many things in positive psychology, because positive psychology would never use a term like energy healing. That's absolutely has nothing at all to do with positive psychology. But yet, that statement that came out of metaphysics and quantum physics originally, that everything is energy, I had always noticed in positive psychology, you may not use the exact terms, but we were kind of talking about the same thing. With the easiest one always being when people say, oh, no, there's no such thing as energy. Well, how many times has a child walked into a room and could already tell their parents were not in a good space?
Mm,
Like, it. Anyone who's ever walked into an office, you may have an agenda you have, but you can sense very quickly a receptivity,
right.
or it's like, I don't know what you're doing here, but get out. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes,
Energetically. Yeah.
yes,
With like, that's when everything is energy. You can sense the person's mood, way of being, what they're putting out there. That's energy. It's that simple. Is that what you would agree with also?
yes. I think that even when you talk about positive psychology, people have positive energy and people have negative energy. So if you
Mhm.
have negative energy, you feel different than you feel when you have positive energy.
And I will tell you that one of the cores, one of the, you know, before there was the field of positive psychology, Marty Seligman was doing traditional psychological research, and depression was the thing everyone studied what depression was. And it was Seligman and a group of people that were like, well, wait a minute, why don't we figure out what happy people or what people who aren't depressed? But the line that I took away from the depression work was you cannot have a depression or a depressed feeling without first having a depressed thought.
Absolutely.
That's energy. That's your negative energy. Like,
Right.
and that's why it's so important to pay attention to those things. So I want to say why I came to you, in addition to my girlfriend glowing over dinner. Um, I'm a person who works in words, and I study the science and I use the science. I know all the techniques. I use the techniques. But I have found for myself that sound and people being happy, I can't describe it any other way. People who are lighter than I am at the moment can make me feel better.
Mm,
Just having conversations with them. And so I wanted to explore things I was working with in all my traditional ways using your techniques. And I would say that it did exactly what I wanted. It was quicker than what I do. I'll be the first to admit it. It is quicker. However, I'm also receptive, and I believe that I can do work with someone like you and have a positive outcome. I didn't have to get over the fear that you weren't telling the truth.
right.
And I do believe in my core that that matters a lot. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like the difference between someone who has been receptive and someone who hasn't been receptive?
Yeah, well, someone that's receptive and open, it's a lot easier to work with. They get results a lot faster because you don't have to
Mhm.
prove anything to them first. They're there to change. There are a lot of people that come in to you, and number one, they think that change takes a long time. So
Right.
they believe that they have to see me 12 times to get a result that can be done in 4 or 5 visits. because they just believe that because they've been in talking therapy for so long, they feel that's the only thing
Right.
to be done. And they don't believe that they have the ability to heal any faster than that because once again, they've been programmed or like or what I like to call hypnotized to believe certain things about how change has to happen. And when someone
Right.
also believes, and when someone, what else is important? Someone believing that they're worthy of the change.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because
Oh,
yeah, when people believe
yeah.
they're worthy of a
Okay.
change and they're committed to
Yep.
making that change, that makes a
Yep.
world of difference also. When someone believes that they're not worthy of a change and they're still in this depressed state of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy enough for those type of things, it takes a little longer to heal them because first you have to shift their beliefs.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I wrote a note about what you said from a young age as a child of Harlem. And for those who don't know what Harlem is, it's a place in New York City where traditionally, not today as much, but traditionally going back through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s was a depressed Black area. It was a thriving Black area initially, but then got more and more depressed with each decade. And by the time it hit the 70s in New York, it was really about as rock bottom of New York as you can get. But you as a child set an intention that even though your environment was the same as everyone else's, you were going to do it differently. That environment was not going to have the effect on you. So I think you intuitively knew to set the intention that regardless of what was happening out there, I could be different in here.
Right. Yeah.
And then you just turn it around on us and you try and get us to believe that when we work with you.
I never put together like that I thought I could be different. So I portray that to other people I work with. But that's a good point because I had never thought about it that way. But
Yeah.
I believe in people. I believe I teach my students to love their patients more than the patient even love themselves.
Yes.
To love them
Yes.
beyond their ability to love themselves. Because when you do that, they're gonna vibrate at a higher frequency to match yours to make
And
that.
and I want you to know that in my own work, from the beginning of the time I got into consulting, the number of times I've had to say to someone that I believe that you can accomplish more right now than you believe you
Right,
can. And that's what the basis of this work is.
right.
That I got to get you to catch up with what I know you're capable of doing. And it is very true. I actually wrote that um, in a letter to, it was something I had said to my first husband. And years later, he came back and said to me, when I kind of apologized for being a really crappy wife, he said,
You?
me? What? um, he said to me, no, you just saw in me what I didn't see in me. You always believed I could do this, because he went on to be quite accomplished.
Man,
um, and I always take that as moments of pride. I had someone quit on me once because they thought I was going to fire them, when in fact I wasn't allowing them to not believe they could do something. They had English as a second language, and they were using all these techniques not to get information directly from people because they didn't want to be judged that they couldn't speak as clearly. And I was like, pick up the phone and call them. Do not do this, 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 and this. Call them. And they actually quit. Again, this person went on to be fabulously successful. And I just love it. It's like there is, when you believe in what is possible versus what is, it really does make life a whole lot better.
yes,
Yeah. So I want to also say that one of the techniques that we used in our work together is a very traditional timeline. Because I'm not a licensed therapist, I don't know what they actually call it, but In hypnotherapy in particular, you go through timelines and then you go back to that point when something first happened. And you use that same technique in your work.
Mhm.
Um, how did you come to the different modalities?
Well, I started in just positive thinking. I had all the books. I had Dale Carnegie books. I did Dale Carnegie way back
I
then.
didn't like all that positive thinking crap, by
Yeah,
the way.
I had all that stuff. Zig Ziglar, Joseph Murphy, Napoleon Hill, W. Clement Stone, Og Mandino.
Hmm.
I was
I
reading,
thought it was all crazy beans when I
I
first
was
came
reading all
upon
that stuff. I was reading it all. Then I bought a franchise from a company called Success Motivation Institute.
Oh,
And I didn't go there to buy a franchise. I went there to find out what they were doing. So I wanted to start a program for young people in Harlem. Because I said, if I can make it, and I was voted the class clown and least likely to succeed
right.
in the same year, and barely got out of high school. But I said, if I can make it and go to college, anyone else can too. So I want to start a foundation called Youth Motivation Foundation. And me and
Okay.
three of my successful friends, who are all from Harlem, we're going to do this together. Everybody was very busy, so it ended up dying. So I ended up going to
Right.
Success Motivation Institute to find out what they were doing. And it was a franchise. So I ended up buying that franchise. It was basically selling dynamics of goal setting. This guy named was
Oh,
Paul J.
okay.
Myers. Dynamics of goal setting, dynamics of success attitudes, dynamics of time control, a whole bunch of programs, which was a program with cassettes that you listen to. So I ended up
Right.
selling those to my people that were buying from me. And for a long time, I wasn't selling any of them. You know, I had these big suitcases carrying around at night after I got finished my other job. Because I've been in
Yes.
business for myself since I was 24 years old.
Wow.
My first business was called Quavis Press. It was a printing and graphic arts and printing company. That started with
Okay.
$400 and built it to a $1 million company doing work for people like American Express, Clairol, Elizabeth Arden, Hoffman and Roach, General Foods. A lot of I only had Fortune 100 companies. Um,
Wow.
so it was that money that was paying for everything else I did, the money I made from the company.
Hmm.
And finally, I remember my son, he was so funny. I would come home every night. He would not go to sleep till I came home. And he would say, Dad, did you sell one? I said, nah, son, I didn't sell it today. We'll get them next time. And after a while, I became one of the top producers at Success Motivation Institute. And they
Wow.
introduced me to, then I got to meet the vice president. He said, Jeff, I want you to buy this book. It's called Unlimited Power by this guy named Tony Robbins. He said, the first four chapters are good. After that, it's all baloney. So I said, interesting. The first four chapters are good, and the rest of all baloney. So I said, let me start on chapter 5. I want to see what they
Oh,
hide.
I love it.
So I start with chapter 5. And there's a pattern in there called the switch pattern, which I did, and it helped me stop biting my nails. So I used to bite my nails. I had a terrible habit of biting my nails. And I stopped biting my nails. I said, now this is some good stuff. Because now we're talking about reprogramming the mind, not just saying affirmations that didn't work for me. Because affirmations
Right.
didn't work for me. So I was like,
I'm not an affirmation person either.
so it didn't work for me. So now I'm learning how to reprogram my mind. So I got more and more interested in it. And so that's how it all began. I started studying. I stayed with Tony Robbins just for one weekend. I think he's a great guy, but I didn't feel that's who I wanted to study with. So I went to
Hmm.
study with other people in neurolinguistic programming and went on to study with
Okay.
the guy that founded it and his protege, and just did a lot of studying in neurolinguistic programming, quantum psychology, and just other things I started studying because now I have the tools that transform my own life and I have the tools to teach other people how to transform their life. And that's how
Right.
it really birthed.
And that's, that is such an important, uh, the work that I have done for a living has caused me to live a better life because I have to do the work myself.
Right.
And there was a point early on in positive psychology where they were noticing that therapists who were basing their practices in positive psychology were more likely to be more satisfied with the work that they were doing. And it is a very interesting thing how the work we choose to do can either enhance our lives or bring us down. And how important it is to see whether or not you vibe with what it is. And I remembered this one instance once. I was doing a customer service program, huge rollout for Chrysler at
Mm,
the time when Lee Iacocca
yeah.
he had all new products coming out. And this was in the 90s. And he had, if a dealership didn't send their employees to the customer service training we were doing, they weren't going to get new product. So it was, definitely
Forced
a
to go.
carrot and stick. Yeah. It was a carrot and stick program. So people were not happy,
Right.
but we had a chapter on telling your customers the truth. And on more than one occasion, I would have, and it was mostly young men, come over to me and say, if I tell my customers the truth, they're not going to buy this car. And at the time, it was the Jeep. If you remember, Jeeps had a really, and
Turning over.
my boss does not want me telling them the truth. Like, what do you do? And it's one of those moments in time that the kid was answering his own question. Like, if you're being asked to do something that does not align with your values, does not align with you vibrationally, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Just
Right.
just maybe you don't even need to read a book about it. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Yep. So it is the way we get to these points, and I'm so pleased to have and like you're one of those resources that, and you and I both share that affirmations, like I had said, for me, words, I work in words. And yet words are not the first thing that helps me. Sound, nature, working with people energetically, that helps me. Being around very positive people and not positive thinkers so much, that people who are really grounded in the fact that no matter what the external circumstance is, we can have an impact. I had an occasion on Sunday, and it was something that stuck with me all week. A person in a spiritual group that I'm involved in said that we have to remember that the exception does not prove the rule.
Mm,
And it this person always makes me think. And it took 2 days until today that I realized, yes, the exceptions, like energetically, you help someone. Someone may say that's the exception. It can't happen all the time. But what that one time does is give me hope
right.
that I can do it.
Opens the door of possibility.
It opens the door to the possibility. And I think that's what I know that the intro that you did for us about your trip to India, all of those various points, that no one came and checked on you was a different thing. It that the person had moved out, that all of those points were points in an opening. And I know that everyone,
Right.
the best stories are the ones of the person who misses the airplane that goes down. That's a one that's been in the paper a lot. But things have to happen. Um, and then you have to take the action. And I think that's what, you may have been fighting it, but you stayed around to fight.
Yeah. And I finally gave in and became obedient.
Yeah.
You mentioned
Oh, don't.
affirmation. I want
The
to
word
rewind the effort.
obedient and I just don't relate. What are you talking about? What
Pardon
does
me?
obedient mean? Tell me about obedient. That's not a word I relate to.
Let me give you an example of obedience. And you
Okay.
can ask our friend about this, Reverend Marquita.
Okay.
This weekend was the last weekend of my course. She's been flying to New York every month for 6 months for this course.
Okay.
And I have a protocol to follow. I have a syllabus to follow in this particular course. But what I did was that Spirit was telling me to do something different. And I
Okay.
was saying, my ego was saying, no, but this is what I'm supposed to teach. I got the syllabus. this is what I'm supposed to teach today. I went off the syllabus. That's what I mean by being obedient. I went off the syllabus to do what I was being guided to do instead. And everyone think it was the most powerful. The people that have been in the class before, because some people, this was their third time taking it. And they said it was the most
Okay.
powerful experience of me doing this workshop that they ever seen out of the 3 times they've done it. And not only that, but it transformed people's lives. Normally, I don't do healing in the middle of the work. I'm teaching. So I don't stop
Right.
trying to like do a healing workshop. But in the middle of
Mhm.
that workshop, twice, 2 days, both afternoons, it was more healing them from their past inner child type work that I did
Okay.
in the workshop, using what I taught them to heal them also.
Right.
That's what I mean by being obedient,
Okay.
following what I was being given to do instead of what I was scripted to do.
Right. Okay. I'll accept that. I use a term, surrender, that
Okay.
yeah, you turn over and you surrender. Okay. Okay.
Can we
Well,
go back to affirmations for a minute?
okay.
Because neither one of us like
Let's, I know.
them.
And we both teach them. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
When I teach about affirmations, I tell people that affirmations are basically, and this is just my remix of it, a lie that you tell yourself over and over again until you start to believe it.
That's fair.
And what's the purpose of affirmations? To change your belief. That's what you're using affirmations for, to change your belief.
Hmm.
I can show someone how to change your belief in half an hour. You have to say, you don't have to say affirmation for 30 days before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. I mean, I can show you how to change your belief in 30 minutes. So when I started learning how to change your belief in 30 minutes, I really didn't use affirmations at all anymore. And I tell people, use your affirmation if you want to. That's what you're used to. If it works for you, no, first of all, if it works for you, use it. But I
Right.
think there's faster ways to do it when you learn how to program your mind, when you learn how your mind is working and be able to take control of it, because we're not aware of how our mind is working. We got laptops, we got desktops, we got all these kind of computers, but no one taught us how to use the shoulder top. And that's the most powerful computer in the world, but no one taught us how to use it. And that's what the course this week was about, teaching people how to use this thing up here. I'll send you Marquita's testimonial at the end of the workshop. Email,
Oh, okay.
all right?
And she's going to be in Las Vegas this week, and I'm hoping to have her download over dinner
Yeah,
where she is with everything.
she'll
Yeah,
tell you it was an amazing workshop, even for me. And when I saw them light up like
that's the
light bulbs,
best.
everybody got
Yep.
light up. They're releasing past
Right.
baggage.
Right.
Like I said, I never do that net workshop. I've never done that net workshop. But something
That's
was guiding me to
beautiful.
do it, so I surrendered.
Well, I want us to close out for now.
Okay.
And I was wondering, is there anything in particular you want to end this conversation with?
I think what I would tell your audience is that whether they know it or not, they are the answer to someone's prayer. You
Mm.
know, we are all put here to be of service. The question is how. And you're finding the
Mhm.
way you're supposed to be of service specifically. It may not be the same way that I would do it or Andrea would do it,
Mhm.
but you have a way of being of service.
Mhm.
You're here to be of service one way or another. And there's someone in that orbit that's waiting for you, that's been praying. You are the answer to someone's prayer. So I always tell people, step from behind the curtains of fear, doubt, and worry, because that's what stops us from living our dreams. Fear, doubt, and
Mhm.
worry. If you're not living your
Mhm.
dreams, you're living your fears. So step from behind the curtain of fear, doubt, and worry, and let God
Mhm.
show you off. And I always tell people you were born an original, so stop copying off everybody else. So don't you dare die a copy. You were born an original, so don't die a copy. And remember that you are the masterpiece. There will never be another you, period, point blank. You are a unique creation, and you need to express that creation so you can be of service to the world.
Beautiful.
That's it.
I love it. Step out from
From behind
behind the
the curtain,
fear, the
doubt, and
doubt,
worry.
and the worry. I don't really need to say anything other than that, Jeffrey. I loved working with you. I look forward to doing it again in the future when I hit a bump in the road that I just can't get myself over. I really appreciated the work that we did together. And I will make sure that everyone who resonates with this conversation knows how to get in touch with you.
Thank you.
And thank you. I am Andrea Goeglein. This is a conversation with Jeffrey Noble, and I look forward to your respectful comments. Thank you.
Thank you.